It is finally time to do a major steering upgrade on my Jeep Gladiator. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. I have been talking about this upgrade for quite a while now, and we're finally gonna do it. It looks like the rain is gonna be on and off all day here in South Texas, which means it's a perfect time to get the Gladiator in the garage and finally get around to installing the Apex Performance Steering Boost Kit. We're gonna talk all about it. We're gonna go through the install and what exactly does it do. This is gonna be an amazing upgrade for you JL and JT owners who have oversized tires on their rig and want to boost your steering performance both on-road and off-road. It is gonna be quite an install. I'm not gonna go through it step by step, but I am excited for this upgrade. Here's a real quick sneak peek. The full Apex kit, which comes with their steering boost, their power steering cooler, and everything else we need to install this. We have a lot to talk about. First things first, before we pull the Jeep in here, let's go take it for a drive so I can show you guys kind of a before and after and some of the issues I'm having with my current steering setup.
It appears that I've picked a horrible day to show how difficult steering can be off-road with the 37s, and that is because it is extremely muddy today. Normally, when you're off-road going slow, with bigger size tires, that is a lot more strain on your factory steering pump. That added weight resistance, the added traction, is gonna make your steering wheel a lot harder to turn, especially when you get on rocks. Now, to add to that, if we shift over into 4 low, put our front locker on, that's gonna make the steering a lot harder. So let's go ahead and see what it feels like in the mud with the front axle locked. So because it's muddy, I'm sliding around. It's really not too difficult. So I just slid into a ditch. That way we can have a lot more. Okay, here we go. This is it. So I am struggling to turn my wheel left and right, even in the mud. We're fighting some of those mud walls, and it's putting a lot of strain on the steering system. Now I hope I am not actually stuck, because now that I do look at it, it's really muddy and my belly might be hanging. So let's get out of here. Even though I'm off-roading in muddy, slick terrain, the steering is still having a hard time turning these 37s. While we're out here and already muddy, we're gonna go ahead and try one more climb. After that muddy fiasco, I took the Jeep to the car wash, pressure washed it really good, cleaned it up because this install is gonna get pretty in depth. Now, a little backstory before we start talking about this. A lot of people don't know that Jeep moved away from the traditional, the belt-driven power steering pump and switched over to an electric pump, which is actually located under our airbox. You can see it right here underneath our fender. Booyah. Now that pump is perfectly fine when it comes to the factory Jeep. They designed it for 33s, maybe a little bit bigger, and it works perfectly fine. But if you're like any other Jeep owner, you get your Jeep, you slap some 35s, 37s, or even bigger tires on it, because that's what we do, and then you realize that your steering kind of sucks. In the past, there's been plenty of options, not plenty, but there's been a handful. The biggest go-to steering upgrade is gonna be PSC or any other type of Hydro Assist. I'm running that on the JK, which consists of 2 lines coming off your gearbox and going to a hydraulic ram there, which is going to increase our steering power. Now, for a lot of people, that might be overkill. That is where Apex came along. This kit, it's very budget friendly. $385 for the boost kit, the power steering cooler, and the brackets and hoses. Back up a little bit. How do we know that we need to do a steering upgrade? Easiest way to say it is if you're on 35s or bigger, you're gonna benefit from this. Whether you're in a really cold climate and you're experiencing stiff steering when it's really cold, whether you're in a really hot climate when you're experiencing hard turning when it's hot, whether you're in the sand at higher speeds and it's still a little bit slow, whether you're rock crawling and you're fighting the steering wheel, all of those scenarios are really going to help this Jeep. Plus, even if you're just driving it in a parking lot, idled, it's hard to turn, this is gonna help. So how does it help though? Apex designed this kit around the factory electric pump, and they decided to raise the pressure. What we have here is a new pressure relief valve that can be adjusted so we can raise the pressure of the pump. The pump is not gonna work any harder because it's still making that pressure, it's just not relieving itself. Now, since we are increasing the pressure, which they say is gonna give us 40% more steering power, in turn, it's gonna make more heat. Heat in hydraulic systems is the #1 enemy. Of course, we have the cooler. So with all that being said, it looks like a great product. Sadly, I have never installed one of these, and I've never been in a Jeep with one of them. So I'm curious to see how this goes. The install is gonna be a little bit in depth. It comes with instructions. Northridge 4x4 has a step-by-step instructional video, and it seems like they were pretty happy with it at the end. Who knows? We're gonna try it out. I'm gonna pull the Jeep in the garage. Sadly, the Gladiator, the rear tires have to get aired down so we can fit it in this garage, and we can start turning wrenches to getting this Apex steering boost installed. Looking at the instructions, this doesn't seem like it's too hard of a job for the average DIYer. The only bad thing is that we are gonna have to take out a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of little steps in order to do it. Starting off, we have to remove the airbox. Good thing for me because I probably need to clean this and oil it. We have to remove our grill and the bumper. I'm kind of excited about pulling the bumper off because there are some spots starting to rust. It's really salty down here. Be a good time to go ahead and spray this. You can go ahead and remove your fender, or just remove some of your inner fender portion so we can pull this back and get access to the pump down there. So go ahead and get all this off so we can get to the fun stuff. With everything removed, we can now move on to the next step. It took a little bit longer than anticipated. Removing all of this stuff, the biggest challenge, at least from my end, was removing the bumper. I should have taken the winch off and then the bumper, but I was difficult and hard-headed and tried to do it as one. This is the Barnes four-wheel drive bumper, extremely sturdy. You know, we have the 4 bumper bolts on each side. We have a bracket that goes here to the frame, as well as a bracket on the skid plate. So there's 3 mounting spots on each side. With the winch in, is it extremely difficult to get to undo all those bolts. But I'm hard-headed and I was not gonna take the winch off. But in the end, I'm gonna take the winch off anyways because I gotta paint that bad boy. But with all of this off, we can get started. I went ahead and removed our little air intake duct there. We had to pop this guy off for that. I think that's the only reason behind removing the grill, is to get that little air duct out. The rest is pretty straightforward. We have to unplug these connections. We're gonna have to mess with the hoses, but the one thing we are gonna have to really modify is this bracket here. This is what holds our airbox in. Some people would just cut it how it is now. I'm just gonna pop it off, cut it on the bench, and then we can look at the pump and see what modifications we have to make for the Apex boost kit. I am slowly starting to realize that I use Sawzalls for way too many projects when I should be using other tools. But Sawzalls, the king of everything. If you need to cut it, you are good to go. It's like my exhaust on the Hemi swap, Sawzall. The next step, guys, I don't want to make this step by step. Pretty much what we have to do is unmount our pump, which is just held in by those 2 bolts down there. Super simple. We might have to do something with this hose, loosen this up, because we have to unmount the pump, unplug the connections, and just kind of rotate it up a little bit so we can get access to the fitting for that relief valve so we can install that. I'm gonna fast forward through all this, knock that out, and just show you guys the important part when it comes to actually installing the relief valve. We have everything flipped around. The pump is all over the place. I was unable to, one of the electrical lines, I have no idea how to undo it. Like, you pull the red tab, there's something you push and pull it. Wasn't working for me. So I left that one on. We had to flip it over to get access to this little set screw down here. So that's the relief valve. So we're gonna pop that out, follow the instructions, get that new adjustable regulator in there, and see what it does. At this point, we can finally take a look at the boost kit in general. So this right here is going to replace the regulator that we removed. The factory one just screws in there with the spring and seat. With this one, the Apex one, we're gonna reuse the little seat there, but it comes with their new spring. It's a whole new unit. On the bottom here, we can adjust this in and out, thread it in for a higher pressure, thread it out for a lower pressure. They say that when you're installing it, make sure it is at the lowest pressure. That way you're not just boosting the system way too much. Over here, we have a pressure gauge, the hose for the gauge, a little sandwich adapter that is gonna go on the output side of the pump, a longer screw, and this little guy, not too sure. And one of the great things about this kit is that it is adjustable. So we can bump it up anywhere from 1500 to 2000 PSI You know, if you're on 35s, you might want to dial it like, you know, maybe 1600. If you're on 37s, you can go all the way up to 2000. And of course, yellow is caution, and then red is like, you're gonna blow up your pump. So all of this stuff is pretty simple. Let's go ahead and get all of this stuff installed. I spent last night finishing up the boost kit. The pump is back installed. Everything in here is ready to go. It actually turned out to be really, really easy. This is not a job to be scared of. We are not done yet though. We need to install our nice cooler. So this is the Apex cooler that comes in the kit. I will go ahead and say that they are now offering just the boost kit for $175 in case you do want to run a different cooler other than this Apex one. This is a phenomenal cooler. This thing is massive, very well built, and I have no doubt that this is gonna cool the system more than enough. Now, the only issue with this, it's designed for the JL and JT, has instructions on how to install it, but there are certain bumpers and winches where it could present an issue. I am still not 100% sure that it's gonna work with mine over there. We're gonna be cutting out this factory power steering cooler line right here, and it's gonna install right along here. We're gonna drill holes in the frame, mount it right there. If you have a Rubicon, we have to bend this tab down a little bit so there's enough clearance. Now the issue is if you have a bumper that's tucked up really tight, you have a winch that sits in there really, really tight as well, there might not be enough room for the cooler down here. So in those cases is where you'd go with a different company's cooler where they might mount it up here, or you can really just choose to mount a cooler wherever you want as long as you have one. This is gonna be extremely simple to install, kind of highlight some. If you've never installed a power steering cooler, definitely go by the instructions or check out another video. But the basics is we're just cutting out this low pressure side that goes from the gearbox down through here, back up to the return side of the pump. We're chopping the soft hose on the return side of the gearbox. We're gonna take all of this out, and we're gonna remove the hose from the low pressure side of the pump itself, put the cooler in, run the hose there, run the hose there, boom, it is done. Let's knock this out because I really wanna go test this out today. Got the cooler in, everything is looking good. We actually got everything else put back together too. The bumper, winch, the grill. Cassie's over there working. I have today off so we can finish this up. Now, the cooler is a very, very tight fit, especially with this bumper and winch setup, how close up and tight this sucks in. Luckily it worked. I just had to mount the cooler all the way up against the condenser, pretty much as close as I could get. But with all of this back on, the next step is to bleed the system. We have the front end jacked up. We're gonna go ahead and pour some fluid in there, turn the steering a couple times, let that fluid get in there, and then start the Jeep up. Keep doing that until the system is completely bled. Now on the JLs and JTs, you do need to use special fluid. You can either go to the dealership and get the Mopar stuff, or Napa, O'Reilly, they're gonna carry this, the CHF 11S, which is a synthetic fluid. I'll throw a link to those in the video description in case you do wanna just buy it online. We're gonna go ahead and bleed the system, and then we can start messing around and boosting the pressure. But first, we have to bleed all of the air out. The one thing I'm still unsure of is how much fluid we actually need. I've already went through 1 quart of just like bleeding it with the engine off. You ready to do this?
Ready to bleed.
Milo, you ready? All right. Oh man, that sucked down quick. Everything's good to go. We can now set the pressure. So what we're gonna do is pretty much just look at this needle and try to get it in the green zone there. They're saying the factory setting's right around 1300 PSI. We're gonna bump it up a lot past that. Now, whenever we do make adjustments, we need to crawl under there with our little 5mm Allen, turn the screw in to raise the pressure. You only wanna adjust the pressure with the engine off. But Cassie, are you ready?
We're ready.
We're gonna have a driver and our cute little doggy there. They're gonna start it up, turn all the way hard passenger, and hold it at full lock, and that's when we check the pressure. Let's do it. Yeah. All right, so we're at like 800 maybe. Hold it. Oh yeah, so we're super low. Is that a lot harder than before? Yeah.
Because there's no pressure in there,
No,
right?
there's like 800 pressure.
I was like, it's not easy.
No, what'd you install? So if we're at 800 PSI, that's way under the factory set point. We are going to slowly adjust this, keep turning it clockwise. I don't know, I think I'll probably go up to like 1700, maybe 1800. They were saying that like the yellow zone, you can run up to that for like 40s or whatnot, but that is going to kind of decrease the life of your pump. So we're gonna go ahead and adjust this, hopefully get it up. Well, this might take a while.
Yeah.
After that fourth adjustment, we still decided to lower it down just a little bit. It's settled at 1850 now, and as you can tell, the Jeep is out of the garage, the tires are aired up, and let me tell you what, this thing, it's insane how much of a difference it is.
Huge difference. Just sitting, like not even moving, it's so much easier to turn the wheel all the way. Left, right, passenger, driver, like all the way.
It's effortless. So
yeah, effortless.
I did have a before. The biggest issue, what I noticed driving this thing with the 37s, is that if you weren't rolling, like right now, if you hop in, turn the engine on, and tried to turn, it's extremely tight, almost impossible. I have a video of that, so let me include that right now. Yep. Starts getting hard, and we're not even turning at all. Jeez, let my foot off the brake a little bit, roll forward, and it helps. But if my foot's on the brake and I'm trying to turn, no way. As you can tell, it is was extremely difficult to turn the wheel. And then like off-road.
Like when we were at Wolf Caves, like when I was trying to go over rocks or up an obstacle, like I could not turn the wheel unless I was moving.
Yeah.
And even when I was like moving just a little bit, it was still, I mean, it was like all of my body.
You had to throw it into it. This is insane, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up and show you guys the difference.
Check this out.
Now I cannot wait to get off-road and show you guys, like on the rocks. I really don't want to go in the mud again and get this thing muddy. So we are stopped. I'm gonna have my foot on the brake. Look at that.
One-handed.
One-handed.
I don't even see you flexing.
outside video of those tires. There's no...
It's effortless. Like, that's pretty amazing.
I know we're not able to actually test it off-road now, but we are gonna plan a trip up north, whether it's Wolf Caves, Hidden Falls, take this, and there are a few more upgrades that we're doing. That way when we go out there, we have a lot of upgrades, but guys, this is a game changer. So I'm gonna take it for a spin and see if there's any other noticeable differences other than just, you know, better steering right now.
Parking lots too. I mean, going slowly, like
just trying to pull in. Sometimes it was hard. This is amazing just from sitting here right now, but we do need to hit the road and see what it drives like on the road, because you know a lot of people are going to compare this to something like, you know, the redneck Ram setup or PSC. Like, what's the difference? Would you rather choose this or you know, a hydraulic assist system with a Ram? And there's really no comparison. This is $375 versus $700 at the cheapest for a redneck Ram setup from West Texas off-road. But I could see this being a great way to start off with. If you're on 37s, 39s, start off with this upgrade. And then in the future, if you do need a little bit more, you could always add a Ram on top of it. So now you're benefiting from the better pump and a hydraulic Ram, which would be a killer setup. And I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. But this feels amazing. So let's go ahead, hit the road and see if there's any difference like driving it on the road. One last thing before we do a road test. I have the Jeep in 4 low, the front and rear lockers on, so the front axle's locked. Let's see what happens. Ready?
Yep.
All right. There we go. Okay, it's a little more difficult, but it's not impossible. So like if we're off-road, it gets a little difficult right there.
It does.
But if we just move a little bit, it's gonna make it a lot easier. Before, I would never been able to do that. It is safe to say that Apex completely killed it on this upgrade. The steering boost kit is phenomenal. You know, so we took it for the test drive on the road, and there's no ill effects at higher speeds. You know, compared to Hydro Assist, there is a bit of like difference driving it. It feels more like a boat. Whereas with this kit, it feels completely stock, you know, until you're going slow and you really need that turning power. This is a very impressive upgrade. We're gonna continue testing it. Hopefully we'll be able to go up north, do some rock crawling soon. Next week, we're gonna take it out on the beach, head as far north as we can, and maybe do some camping up there. There's some trails off to the side. So we're gonna go test out the Jeep, and we do have more upgrades coming soon. So this,
I'd highly recommend it to you JL and JT owners, even if you're only on 35s or 37s, 39s, etc. It is a great kit, a lot cheaper than Hydro Assist, and there's really less maintenance. Now that this is done, all I have to do, I'm gonna check that pressure here in a few days, make sure it's still around 1850, check for leaks, call it good. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you later. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and there will be parts list and everything you need to know in the video description. I will see you guys later.